Alrighty, would like to welcome everybody back to the Ecosystem Podcast. A little different today. First time in the history of the show, we're all together. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
So we are your hosts, Mark Smith.
Andrew Welch.
William Dorington.
Anna Welch.
Chris Huntingford.
Huntingford.
Ford.
He hunts fords.
We're coming to you.
Wow, that joke has never been made. Wow. Thanks for the wise words.
We are coming today live. And by the way, if we slur and stuff, it's not because we have drunk anything, because we haven't. We have generally been in transit for the last 24 hours. Some of us worse for wear than others. But anyhow, we're here at DynamicsMinds in
Portorož.
I can't pronounce that, so hence it's been pronounced. And so we decided, why not? Let's try a podcast. We've never used this equipment before. We've never used this microphone before, or that one.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? But to set the scene, I'm going to hand Andrew.
Well, so for this episode, we have some product placement for Ryanair. Chris Huntingford would like to speak about his experience getting to DynamicsMinds to the conference.
Let me tell you, I will never, ever fly with that terrible, appalling excuse of an airline ever again, ever.
How close were you to being arrested in the airport yesterday?
Dude, people saw the fury. The fury came out. Yeah. It was actually so bad. Like, they booked me on 3 incorrect flights. Dude, 3. I had to go through security twice. It was wonderful. They were all delayed. And then the best part is I got left at a services station by the cab driver.
At the Italian border.
So just to put this in perspective, I took the same flight earlier in the day. It took me 2 hours, right? As in destination to destination.
Ryanair?
No, I said I did the same flight, different. Chris set out at 10 a.m. and didn't get here till 3 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
I love when Mark says the letter M and also the word dead. Can we?
What,
Did.
Why did I say M?
M?
Yeah,
All right. So for those of you who don't know, we're at the DynamicsMinds conference in Portorož, Slovenia. We've got, I don't think they were expecting this many hosts on the same podcast in the podcast room, but this is
A beautiful backdrop.
with this beautiful backdrop right here. But otherwise, I think this is the best Microsoft community event of the year. It's got to be. I mean, yeah.
I'd say Color Cloud in a different way was fantastic. A lot more intimate, a lot more sort of, it reminded me a bit more of the origins of the community. But yeah, I've never been here before, and it's another level. It's blown my mind, quite frankly.
Yeah, the energy at this conference, right? And the people wandering around, and it's the only time I've ever seen sort of an exhibition floor with the displays and the the sponsors who are here that's lively and people chatting and people getting to know one another. It's a fabulous event.
It's amazing, right? Like, and people have made so much effort. So it's not just, hey, here's my stand and here's my company. They've got like theme things going on and wizard hats and flaming Ewoks with doom swords and all sorts of weird, cool things. I don't know what that is.
There was a flaming Ewok?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds great. Yeah.
Wow.
It just sounds cool, man. We should put some pictures actually on the website from this. Yeah.
They do have a photographer, and that's amazing as well. Like, we all look way prettier than we are in real life in these pictures. Like, honestly, top quality stuff.
He's done.
That's true. The amount of technology, though, and yesterday, Andrew and I did an ecosystems 101 course. Was the first of its kind. We learned a lot, mainly that it cannot be done in 3 hours.
Yeah, it turns out it is very difficult to squeeze introduction to ecosystem-oriented architecture into 3 hours.
But what we did, I think, was structure the whole information in like 6 major principles. And that worked really well. And it felt like people walked away with something. Plus, there was a lot of like pre-reading and stuff like that.
I was particularly impressed with the kind of the quality of the report outs at the end of the small group exercises, right? So what we did is we had a class of 15, 18 people, something like that.
Was that many people?
It was a
I thought it
huge
was like
class.
5 people.
No, we had 18
All right.
registered and
Okay.
15
Well
turn up.
Never ruin a good story with facts, guys. Come on.
Well, so what
At
we
least
did,
50 people.
at least 50 people in the class, right? We broke the class up into 3 groups, and we gave them each a couple of scenarios. And the whole idea was that each group was playing the role of an ecosystem architect. So we had a scenario that we would give them about, hey, your organization is trying to build a data platform, or your organization is trying to modernize a bunch of apps. And then each scenario came with 3 proposals. And the idea was, hey, an engineer or someone on your team has made these proposals. Which proposal are you, as the ecosystem architect, going to recommend to the CIO? Or are you going to make your own proposal? And the report outs from the group activity I thought they were very strong.
So we recommend it, especially if you have like a very hard problem to solve. You just do a workshop, and get a bunch of clever people from around the world
Yes.
in Slovenia to
Yes.
try and solve your problem. Because those were some really clever people. And I think my biggest takeaway was the fact that, actually there were 2, but the number one takeaway was the fact that people are really interested in ecosystem architecture, and things are moving that way for sure.
Yeah. Chris, how was your panel today?
Oh, it was awesome. So I did mine with Fausto and Victor. They're just fun, right? Like they just and it's quite cool because Fausto is very SharePointy, very technical, very devy. And then
just include SharePoint and technical in the same?
actually, yeah, because he's from a SharePoint background. I know it's normally a sinful thing for me to do. Victor's got great Power Pages experience, and he's done quite a lot across the stack. And then I'm obviously exploring like the purview side and everything. And it was cool. We got asked some really funny questions around data. So I used your story around Dataverse hydrating the data lake and One Lake, and
Nice.
how the go-to sort of data platform of choice for me right now for transactional data and relational data is Dataverse, and why it's important, and also why that plugs into Purview, right? Like the data mapping and all the security available there. So that came out, right? And I've actually noticed it's coming out in pretty much every discussion I'm having. So yeah, especially the ecosystem side. So yeah, it was good fun, man.
Well, Power Platform right now is I think that Power Platform is all a data story right now.
Yeah, it has been for a while.
Yeah,
I think.
it has been for some time, but I'm still astonished how few people actually, I think, look at it that way and talk about it that way. But, to me, the modern data platform at this point is very reliant on a combination of Fabric and Power Platform. And the reason for that is because of Dataverse. Dataverse is the story here.
Yeah, and what's wicked, right, is that, so Tonya, one of the ladies in the audience, she's been to a couple of conferences and she always comes to the sessions, and she was in one of the governance sessions I did like in Germany. And I love the way she was thinking about it. She's like, yeah, this is about data, like we should be really thinking about it that way. And she said that in the audience. I thought, you know what, that's great, because like the message is resonating really well. So yeah.
It's the key way to leveling up, Power Platform in general. If you look at the way that we've gone and the evolution of applications and the complexity and reducing that complexity and reducing it. The easiest way to explain the Fabric and the synergies between the two is that's what they've done with data, right? Data was still incredibly complex. They still had to set up a shed ton, nearly slipped on a shed ton of infrastructure and various integrations, et cetera. Fabric removes that now. So you get that democratization of data, which allows you to create truly powerful applications.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing that creep up more and more. Because if you want to level up and you want to get to that enterprise scale applications, you need to plug it into Fabric.
I'm still hearing, though, we're a year on. So I think Fabric, I forget the exact date, but it was released basically a year ago today, or a year ago last week.
November, though, wasn't it?
And it went GA, I think in November. But I am still surprised by how many organizations from an investment perspective and how many architects are still hesitant because they feel like, they want to see the technology be proven. Folks, the Fabric is a mature technology built on mature technology. There's more capability. I think that for a long time, for a year, we didn't have the ALM, the application lifecycle management story in Fabric that we wanted, but go watch the build recordings from last week.
But there's something that comes up all the time, and we said there's always something that comes up. Any new tech, there's always a common theme of something. And fabric seems to be cost at the moment, and I think it's because
It's brutally expensive.
But is it? And the reason why I say but is it, because we all know it is, but is it? So it's democratized it to a point that it just looks like it's ingesting your data. You don't see all the infrastructure it's spinning up in the background that you'd normally pay for. And you go, look, we've had to spin that up and we paid this much, and then this, then this. Yeah. It's doing that for you. But all you're seeing is the consumption of data flowing through. You know what? This is just capacity. It's a lot more than just capacity. It's all your sparklings. It's everything else that goes with it. And I think that's what people miss out. And Scott Sewell does a brilliant explanation of that and why people perceive it to be expensive when actually, if they really see what they're getting, because they're not seeing behind the scenes, they go, actually, that's reasonably priced.
Let's get a shout for Scott Sewell. Follow Scott Sewell if you're not already.
He's Mr. Fabric himself. That's what I call him.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess what I want to point out is also the fact that people miss out on the manpower that it would take to build all that, and more than the actual skill to build all that, try and convince a bunch of data people to talk to and like work with a bunch of Power Platform people and then with some devs and see how long it will take you. Fabric not only hides all of that work away from you, but it makes it easier for everybody to work together.
I think this is a good lead into the work that Mark has been doing on what is it, the fallacy of free?
Mark was here.
Yeah, Mark is here. It turns out.
Yeah. This is me.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So the fallacy of free. No, and so this is a really interesting concept, right? And that it is that people think that if they do more and they add more bodies in, there's kind of no factoring of the cost of those people. So we just add another person to the project, it adds up, and this whole concept of the total cost of ownership never gets recorded. And so rather than using a best in breed, like managed environments, for example, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it costs premium though, but like, does it really? Like, yes, it does, but does it? What I'm saying is that if you mix that in the total cost of your ownership of the project, the delivery, the outcome, let alone let's not talk about governance, security, and everything else you get with it, it's a no-brainer when you compare a real apples with apples scenario as opposed to what we're just incrementally adding to projects over time and not recording against it. And it applies in the same example that you've just covered. We've just come off Build, a week of Build. And yes, I'll say the word Copilot was mentioned once or twice.
A few times.
And with that, the word AI.
How far into this did we get without actually
not too bad. But
we're recording for 14 minutes.
But one of the interesting things that comes up is that a lot of people have a lot of apps built on SharePoint, and I don't think they're actually aware that all that data sitting on those apps have now just been made available to the Office Graph if you're starting your AI journey. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is something that we've been talking about for a long time, right? Why is premium Power Platform such an incredibly good investment? And I think that we can make such a case around the value that you extract. And if you don't believe us, go read the Forrester report from maybe a year and a half ago. Yeah. But one of the things that I think has been underplayed is the risk that organizations take on when they overbuild using free capabilities, the basic Power Platform capabilities that come with Microsoft 365, right? So the phenomenon here is that a lot of these organizations, we've already got SharePoint, we've already got these basic Power Platform licenses. We're going to build these apps on SharePoint. And by the way, this predates Power Platform. There was a whole generation of the SharePoint app. But the security model in this has often been security by obscurity, right? Our data is secure because no one knows where to find it. Well, congratulations, AI knows where to find it. Yeah. And if you've overbuilt these applications in SharePoint, right, as Mark said, that data is now wired into the Microsoft Graph, and that data is now hydrating M365 Copilot.
And you got to think about that data because we talk about PI or PI, personal information, as opposed to personal identifiable information, right? PII. And there's a distinction here because you might think that you're not presencing that data of that individual. But the thing is, so many data points are coming together that it's quite clear who it is. You know, I heard of a case recently in a police situation where they wanted to put the badge number in of an individual. We're not putting their name or anything, but that's identifiable information that AI can light up if it has access to other data sets in your network. So I think you've got to be really careful in that the solutions that you might have built, it doesn't have somebody's name in there, but is there enough information that pulls together to make it clear that other colleagues know who you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I've said to people all the time, and I said this in my session now, I'm like, AI acts as a loudhailer for badly treated data.
Absolutely.
It really does. And if you're taking relational data or transactional, unstructured data, and then contextual data, and you're welding those together through an AI platform, all of a sudden that data has got superpowers. And if you don't respect that data enough, man, that's on you, right, as a business. It confuses me so much because, like, I had this conversation with you guys already. Like, I have a social media profile. I don't let everyone access my social media profile. Like, I have protection in there, and there's certain things that I don't want people to see. Like, I obscure my addresses and things like that. But that's me. And if data is a digital representation of you, your business, and your affiliates, why do we not give a damn about it? Like, why do we just say, oh, it's too expensive to do this?
But yet they will say it's the most valuable resource they have. Every time.
I'm super confused.
People.
Yeah, I'm just extremely confused by that. And then, you're given these amazing tools by Microsoft to actually solve the problem, like, tools such as Purview and Sentinel, all of that stuff. But we're like, no, it's far too expensive to pay that license. We would rather have our data not looked after, yet it's our most valuable asset. Am I just really stupid?
And then you get a 3% turnover leak thanks to GDPR. Job done. Yeah.
Is it just me, though? Am I missing something here?
No,
to me, it
it's
seems
insane.
super obvious.
No, I think it goes back to what Andrew said, that you had a really good term for it then. It's about, you'll have to correct me.
Security by obscurity.
Security by obscurity. I think that's the issue in most organizations because no one's been able to access it to date. But, with these language models, right, in that scenario, I can say, listen, what's the probability of this being XYZ employee? Because it's now got all those data, right? All of a sudden, you can light up those scenarios, which might have been hard to write the query, but for an LLM, writing that type of query is going to be a cinch.
Yeah, I agree. I think now that we have this ability, it kind of terrifies me a bit, but also I think it's forcing organizations and us to actually respect the data that we have. Because, right now, agents aren't out yet completely. We have a prompt box that we talk to, but in 2 years' time, we may not even have a prompt box.
Yeah.
It will just do things, right? And that's the part that freaks me out the most, is that if I know my data is not being looked after in a business, and all of a sudden I have a bunch of agents or AI running around in the background just using my data, like an RPA would have, I guess, that panics me a lot.
Can we talk a little bit about, because I think that most folks may not have yet heard about or thought much about this idea of agents, and there was a lot of talk about this at Build. So does someone want to take that on?
Well, I just wanted to comment just before it goes, though. Like, we're very good at explaining the concerns and the negatives that brings, but actually there is a positive to all this, which is it's going to drive change. It's going to drive better data hygiene in the long run. Otherwise, the companies, the organizations that most need, for example, Copilot for M365, won't be able to adopt it until they've done it. So they're going to be forced to do it. Yeah. And that's a good thing in itself. And that's what comes with change. So I just wanted to point that out. So there is a positive spin on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the only thing that you need to make sure is that you're not one of those organizations who aren't actually, unfortunately, looking after their data. And
this is the AI
data leak.
This is the AI strategy white paper right there. Those organizations that are getting kind of where many organizations that are investing here are pulling away from the pack, but the ones that are not going to realize the error of not investing right now until it is potentially too late for them.
So when Andrew talks about the white paper, you can find that on Cloud Lighthouse, which leads me to, I'm going to come back to agents, but why don't we take this moment to say, do you want to welcome me?
I'd like to welcome Mark Smith as a partner at Cloud Lighthouse. Aww. Finally, the industry's worst kept secret. He's official.
I'm official. Anyhow, back to agents. So
No, more about Mark.
Tell us more.
Honestly, I think agents is the most, honestly, it is the most exciting thing I see in the future, as in, I went to a session at MVP Summit, and it was the R&D team in Microsoft and how they were thinking about this concept of agents. And they had some demos that were, let's say you took a C++ agent that was just an absolute guru on C++.
Ban the word guru on the podcast?
No gurus? Okay, it was the preeminent expert on the topic of coding in C++, right? And so, like we've known for years, a developer should never be able to critique their own code as the final release, right? You should always have a tester, QA, that type of thing is natural. Then you have an agent that's an absolute preeminent expert on testing C++ code. And these two agents, one hands the code to the other validates it, hands it back. But then you take out the whole lag of communication, how quickly that solution can be developed out through multiple, could be 50 iterations in 1 hour, as an example, right? Which you'd never get that kind of time in the real world and that speed. See, I gave you that example that they gave there, but now let's take any part of any business, a marketing department.
Yep.
You can only afford one marketer or no marketers. Now you have the ability, let's say, to hire 50 marketing agents, with each one of those agents being an absolute guru just in one part of the marketing. Preeminent expert in one part of the story I just think that the ability for small business, SMC, to scale at a low cost I think it's going to create a lot of new economic paradigms.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to bring a lot more benefits to even sort of us at home chilling out, right? So when we say agents, we refer to large agentic models, large action models. It's going beyond just the ability to generate, text and images and videos and diffusion models and multimodal aspects. And it's actually the bit that I get really excited about, as you can probably tell, I've come alive and I'm very tired, is when we start reaching out into the both digital and physical environment to do more. So let's take a really simple example. Let's remove the tech aspects. And so I want to book a trip to Slovenia to come to DynamicsMinds. I need a hotel and I need some flights. So if I speak to my agent and I say, I'm going here, I need this. My agent from previous trips will know my likes, my wants. I like being near the beach. I like being near a shed ton of rum. And I don't like to fly too far because I don't like flying. So I want a short, direct flight. Get me there as quick as I can, and avoid.
So not my flight from yesterday. Then.
Yeah. So not your. Yeah. I would have just been tense the whole time and then ran off.
Making sure we're very clear.
So what that's done is I ping that across. Say I need to go to Slovenia on these dates, and it will go all of a sudden. It go, yep, fantastic. I know you like these things. Run, blah blah blah, and it is pre-qualified to go off to Booking.com, to Skyscanner, and it will have my access to my bank up to certain values, and it will say, I found this. Are you okay to book? Absolutely, go off, and it does that all for you. And that's when we start really seeing how powerful these things are. So we can talk about the code aspects as well, really important, but actually applying it for customer service, field service, everything else.
Dude, I think that I cannot wait, right? Because can I tell you, life admin in my world is freaking hard. Like, it's really hard. And that going away or being made easier would be unbelievable.
But you take that to the next, like that one scenario that he just gave, that all of a sudden it notices that if you flew a certain class, you'd go up a tier on your frequent flyer program. Yeah. It would also note that halfway on your journey there was a rum distillery that has the rum that you like, because it went and looked at that peripheral information. Yeah. And while you're away, it would know the ages of your kids, family, that type of thing. And that gift was going to be perfect. They will have it all ready for, it could be delivered to your hotel room. All that kind of wraparound stuff that we think about or don't get time to think about. It's taking care of all those intricate details that make up a massive... and log the expenses.
That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, dude,
no more reconciliation.
One of my favorite things about receiving a gift from Mark Smith is how thoughtful it is.
Yeah.
Every time. Just put so much thought into it.
But okay, at the end of the day, right, if I gave you $1 billion, do you care how much thought I put into it?
Yeah, I would rather have a good gift that you put no thought into than a crappy gift that you put all the heart into.
You want me to hand draw your card, put little kisses on there? Oh, that's important, but
no,
$1 billion, no.
Alexandra, mine and Anna's 2-year-old, did hand draw cards for her grandmothers for Mother's Day, and I thought that was nice.
It wasn't very intelligent, but it was very cute.
It was very cute. It was very
It's a
cute.
bit like a card of March then.
It's very cute. Exactly.
Honestly, the whole concierge service stuff, but to the next level, it's fantastic. Andrea and I did use a lot of AI to book our honeymoon. It had to be like around the world trip almost. It had to be booked all in like 2 weeks, and we had a very limited budget because we were in an interesting transitional period of our lives, you know. And we did all that, but using multiple agents, right, through prompt engineering, through going. Right now, I can already see how AI is evolving. For example, the other week I bought some glasses for my mom, and as I was just getting ready to check out, I was like, Copilot, can I get a better deal? I got a 50% off the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
But what's scary about this is if you think about when the bidirectional encoder model came out, generative pre-trained transformer architecture. A couple of years on top of that, we then suddenly got diffusion models. We then got whisper models. On top of that, we then got Lumiere. We got the Saurus model. Then a few days after that, we got the alpha geometry and started doing the mathematics. Then after that, we're starting to move on to now actually agents. This is a matter of days, right?
Yeah.
How far from sort of, dare I say, artificial general intelligence are we, and how do we define that based on, what?
So he doesn't want to hand me the old microphone because he worries that I might go on a conspiracy theory. Anyhow,
It turns out Mark Smith is a conspiracy theorist.
I'm not.
We spoke about the pyramids today, and we down there saying that they got the
I love it.
It did you well, the pyramids. There's something there.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I want to go back to the hotel now.
Anna, what was the conspiracy theory he was peddling on us the other day? Do you even remember? It's almost like Mark said, I'm going to go freak my friends out at DynamicsMinds with every conspiracy theory in the book.
I can't.
My earth treating you, Mark.
I have no idea.
But Anna, what was it that he was going on about yesterday?
It is irrelevant. What I was going to say
There are moles in the trees.
is the universe is made up of both magnetic and electrical states, and it's going to affect a lot about the lack of gravity we're going to have shortly. No, that aside. Yeah, I've been watching the Joe Rogan show. What I was adding to what Mr. Dorington was saying, and the reason I say adding to, because my mind is trying to catch up with the conversation, is that I was reading the other day a book which was called Superintelligence, which was written in 2014. Amazing stuff, Oxford professor, and in it he talked about, in machine learning, it used to take like 30 days to train a model. That same model now is down to less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
When you talk about the speed, a like for likeness, and
But they're getting better, not just at reinforced learning, but a direct proximal policy optimization. It's getting a lot quicker, and that's what enables that. They can do self-guided training as well. It's a whole different world. So we talk about these big developments, but we forget that there's the little developments that make the big developments happen.
Yeah.
Thanks for attending my TED talk.
yeah. So the other thing I just wanted to touch on is like I'm saying it a lot lately, is this concept of friction in AI, and I feel like it's a bit clunky, the starting out of AI, and I'm talking about how I feel like we're spending, AI is creating more friction in the life admin at the moment. And I give an example. Email is something I've been harping on about, is that I would like my email to become a lot more friction-free with the use of AI. I don't want it to just draft me a response. I want it to intelligently understand my email over time, with the goal of making it friction-free. So not just drafting, but categorization, what's important,
Dude, yes.
all that type of stuff. And at the moment, the way AI is interacting, it's like, so you start typing the sentence, and then once you've given me enough information, I will construct your email. I'm like, wow, that's more friction. And I'm like, I feel we've got to bear with it for a little while, but in everything, because people are like, that was too difficult, right? I see even people prompting, and they prompt like it's a search engine query they're doing, rather than actually it's a backwards and forwards engagement.
Chain prompt.
No, what's funny about this is I look at a lot of it and think actually it could do a load of that. And I do think it's drip fed a bit to us for adoption. Microsoft say, oh no, that will freak them out. But what we will do is screenshot everything they do on their computer every second and do a whole recall.
Dude, that was ridiculous.
I'm like, how was that given to Satya as a great idea? Especially that Mac. I had Mac had the Wayback Machine back a while. Like, so not the Wayback Machine. It was called... Mac has had this feature of some
Time machine.
Time machine.
Time machine.
That's what I was, and I was like, did no one think that people that have been on Mac will go, isn't this time machine?
The point I wanted to make there, though, is because you're kind of describing at the same time sort of personal large language models. And we all, there was a rumor that Apple was developing this as their race to the market. And it's going to take all your text messages, all your chats, all your voice, and make something that's really unique to you. And people are like, well, if a hacker takes that, they're going to be able to be really good at scamming. And this is the same issue with their recall. But I think there is a route to success there.
But also, he dropped in the word edge in the conversation. And as someone who's in the ecosystem, knows kind of what they're talking about, when he said that first up, I'm thinking web browser.
Yeah.
But he was not talking about web browser at all. He was talking about language models at the edge on your hardware, on your device. I think there could have been a bit more explaining
Yeah, for sure.
about or clarifying what the edge meant.
So I have to look this up. Speaking of Microsoft products, here we'll say something intelligent while I find this.
Well, what I'm seeing on your phone there is rather worrying.
All right, I found it. All right.
Why are you looking at his phone?
So I was preparing the course material for the session that Anna and I taught yesterday. And one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to share some technologies that people should be learning more about. So I asked Copilot to write me a one-sentence description for each of the following Microsoft technologies. And I've got OneLake and Purview, Azure AI Search. I've got a list here. And Copilot did an admirable job of summarizing these technologies until it came to number 8. And that was, I had asked for Copilot Studio. And Copilot replied back, Copilot Studio is a fictional term and does not correspond to any known Microsoft technology.
Wow.
Copilot Studio is such a confusing thing to search on as well. Oh my God. Because it's a thing, right? And people use it a lot and it's very, very useful. And use Copilot Studio in conjunction with, customer service. Like it's very, very important. You cannot really find any relevant information about it because it just gets mixed with everything
that's
else.
The answer to why it struggles, because all it's doing is using that to predict the next word. When they have these awful naming conventions, which is let's just call
You don't know what
everything-
you're talking about. I mean,
Let's call everything Copilot and make it, and let's see how it works.
This is brought to you by the same people that made something Teams.
Teams.
Yes,
Teams?
we need a Teams team.
Teams.
A Teams team, yep.
And then Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
Well, so this my debate with Copilot continued when it got to Azure AI Studio, and it said the same thing. Azure AI Studio is not a recognized Microsoft technology. It may refer to a fictional or future product, but finally it came to Fabric, and it said, Copilot said, Fabric is a term that can refer to various Microsoft services, but it is not specific to a single technology, which, while probably that is true, but come on, Copilot, now you just, you know what I want. You know what I want you to tell me.
So it's just lazy. That's lazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that exactly what we were saying before, the fact that it's a conversation with Copilot. It's a series of prompts. And then you asked it a question and you were unhappy with the response, and then you broadcasted it to the entire world. That's just not okay.
No, but that's the thing, right? Is that if it's a conversation and you're having a conversation with, a friend, and they said something that you knew was out of line, you don't go, that's it, I'm out. Like,
Exactly. Goodbye.
can you believe that? I can't believe you said that. Like, you wouldn't take that indignant type, attitude. You'd go, buddy, you're full of shit. You would say, you're full of it, mate. That ain't the truth, right? Or, what have you been smoking? Or something like that, right? You would call them on it. You would develop the conversation further. Yeah.
I typed my own one-sentence description.
Nice.
You did.
Myself.
Considering you are an author at all.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say.
Such a pleasure, man.
But I think it was actually very interesting because we assembled all of that information about technology for the scenarios that we had in the course. But people came up with so much more technology, also very suitable. So that was very interesting. How ecosystem enablement actually means so much more than the tools that we would expect.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm surprised with that new functionality back to the Microsoft, what is it called? Recall?
Yeah.
So I put a tweet out and said, okay, I'm going to deal with the elephant in the room here. What if there's stuff that I don't want to add into my digital record? Content I might look at from time to time. I know you're all acting like you don't look at this stuff. But let's say, is there a pause button on it? Is there any kind of, well, you know what, this window of next 3 seconds, I don't want to record it.
3 seconds?
Right? Yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
Mark, incognito browsing is totally secure.
But it was still screenshots.
That's recording my screen.
We're going to end on that.
I'm literally not commenting.
So back to build last week. What were some of our favorite build announcements? There were some good ones, but what were we into?
PC.
Copilot PC. Tell us more.
As in, it costs about $4,500. That's when I've spec'd up the machine. But so if I get it right, and I don't know that I do, forget the processor, the RAM, that type of thing. My understanding is it's running small language models on device. So it's going to do a lot of the AI heavy lifting. So for speed and a lot of what you do direct on hardware as well as interface back to the cloud. That's my understanding of it.
Okay.
So yours is different? Go. What do you think?
No. I didn't understand it at all in the beginning. No,
So
you cleared it up for me.
Yeah.
I was just wondering why.
I use a MacBook.
Because of speed, the biggest lag on using an LLM is internet latency, right? The speed that it can get there. If it's going to become full conversational, in other words, no lag, right?
Oh, shucks. Okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea is because we're all ultimately going to go to voice as a interface that we're going to use all the time, right? So you're not going to type, right?
Yeah.
So you imagine if you said, you asked a question or you're having a conversation, and the other person went quiet for a period of time. Well, they thought about what the fuck are they what are they going to say, right? That would be painful. So what the whole idea now is that they're going to process a bunch on device and then hand to server, etc. when they do.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Final word from Will.
The most impressive thing about that, though, is it used to take such extreme power to run these models and such large volumes. And now, this goes back to what I was saying about the waves of technology crashing and getting closer and closer and closer together. We've gone from we need all the power in the world to, hey, why don't you just put it on this computer and you can just run your own little personal LLM. It's fantastic.
We're back to on-prem.
You're right.
You know what's great?
Reminded us all why we went with the name Cloud Lighthouse, because of the waves.
Yeah, the waves, yeah.
Exactly.
And that device, 850 grams. That entire, it's 850 grams. Okay.
I'm American.
That needs to be edited out, what he said there.